Hi everyone, my name is David Littlejohn. I work at Smartsheet as the technical partner manager. And today's webinar is going to cover facilities management hosted by both Smartsheet and Kronos, our platinum partner. So whether you're managing one site or hundreds, and the challenges in facility management are definitely real. We know we often have disconnected teams, endless work orders, some types of maintenance scheduling chaos, and we want to stay compliant with safety and regulatory standards. Today, we're going to explore how Smartsheet helps modern facilities teams overcome these hurdles through smarter, connected, and oftentimes more scalable solutions. And so, for our agenda here today, we're going to look at some of the challenges these teams face, how Smartsheet solves for the challenges that we're posing. We'll look at some of the use cases and then hopefully dive into success stories from some of our customers. So I want to walk through some of the common challenges and paint the picture of what the environment really looks like today. Some of the key questions that are being asked are, how can we track and manage maintenance schedules and asset life cycles all in one place? Or maybe it's, how are we properly budgeting for equipment replacement, even down to when's the last time this HVAC unit was serviced? And so we know that to complete this type of work, oftentimes we are reliant on manual processes. We're finding that information is siloed in one system, not orchestrated and connected in order to create an integrated ecosystem. And really, what it comes down to is there's a reactive strategy rather than a proactive and strategic approach. And so, let's start with a few pain points that can come up over and over again. That might be scattered information. I'm sure all of us are familiar with using a variety of email spreadsheets, maybe even paper forms, making it hard to track what's actually happening. Or maybe there's a lack of visibility. Leadership wants direct insight into and to be able to see status updates, work order backlogs, or some of the asset life cycles. This can, when we're not managing this within a single platform like Smartsheet, it can lead to poor communication where maintenance staff, vendors, requesters are operating in silos and they're not able to communicate back and forth and collaborate in a way that helps the work get done. One of the things we'll often see is more of the reactive maintenance where teams are spending more time fixing the breakdowns rather than preventing them. So these challenges really slow down productivity, they increase costs, and especially as facility portfolios grow, it is crucial to have a way to track, manage, plan the work all in a single location. And so facilities teams, as we've kind of covered, are looking to answer questions such as, how can we ensure the safety and security of our teams on different sites? How can we optimize our resources when they are limited? And how do we extend the life cycle of some of the facilities, buildings, and projects that we're working on? So I want to dive into what is Smartsheet and using a facilities management perspective. And so really what we are able to do on the platform is combine the user experience model where we have a highly user-friendly interface and cover that with a portfolio approach to collaborative work. And so we're taking the ideation, the strategy of the work, and moving that into execution by delivering some real-time data analytics or intuitive portfolio reporting around the different project elements. Within the value that you can get for facilities management within Smartsheet, let's talk a bit about and put this into context that could be useful for tackling some of the challenges head on. Smartsheet really offers a centralized work order management location. So you're able to track requests all the way from submission to completion in one place. And then a key differentiator is, how do we set up and manage our automations so that the administrative burden is cut down, our teams are more informed, our leadership has a better idea of what's tracking and what's moving. We can trigger alerts, assign tasks, and even update stakeholders without a lot of manual follow-ups. Beyond that, we can take a look at how dashboards are providing this real-time visibility. And so you're getting instant insight into asset health, open tickets, and vendor performance. And beyond that, you're able to have mobile access where field teams can submit updates, photos, checklists, all of these completions right from their phones into the system. That allows us to have and deliver on scalability, going from managing one small project or one work order to an entire building or hundreds, even using templates and some repeatable processes. And so a real world scenario might look like a facilities director at a multi company site. He or she is constantly firefighting. Work orders come in via email. Technicians forget to log some of these completions. Preventative maintenance, it's rarely on schedule, right? So leadership wants to come in and ask, what's the status of HVAC inspections across all of these locations? Unfortunately, the answer is unclear. With Smartsheet, however, we're able to capture this information in a streamlined process. Really, it's transforming the way we are doing the work. So we're collecting through a web form rather in this demand intake type pillar where we're collecting all of the maintenance requests and then categorizing and hopefully auto assigning based on the location. The technicians then can receive these mobile alerts. They're able to then log updates in real time, including any photos and notes with that submission. This is then moving into some of the project and work execution pillar where we're seeing preventative tasks being scheduled ahead of time using these recurring workflows and automations. Ultimately, this is ensuring nothing gets missed along the way. And then as we kind of zoom out, we have project reporting, portfolio reporting. And so through the visualization of the underlying information, that might bubble up into dashboards showing KPIs like how many open tickets we have, what's our average resolution time, are we up to date on our compliance statuses, and all of this information is really updated live. And so this means fewer surprises, happier tenants, and ultimately better resource planning. And so I do want to take a look at Smartsheet and give you an idea of what that looks like in real time. And so we have our project dashboard here that's giving us an idea of a lot of key elements that might look familiar to you. So we have our schedule, our budget, our RFI submittals, and we're able to track and see, okay, when is our upcoming project completion date for this specific item? What's the budget variance we're working at, and how many open RFIs versus open submittals do we have? Are we tracking against the budget we've set out and we quoted for? Beyond that, we're able to see and have a really strong idea of the project milestones. And so if we know that delivering the equipment to the roof with a crane is in progress, it's only at 5%, and we actually have an end date coming up, we know that that needs to be actioned upon, and then we can reach out to the appropriate assigned to team member. Being able to have all of that information presented in one dashboard rather than a variety of spreadsheets or having to track and manage that within an email, within Teams and Slack alone, really creates a greater cycle of how these projects get completed, gives you more oversight into what's going on, and hopefully creates a better working environment for the team. And so not only that, we might want to incorporate how we're looking ahead and within our reports. So what are the projects that are coming up that we need to prioritize the work and schedule for? And so that really takes us into some of our resource and capacity planning. And so you'll see this allocation heat map where different resources have different capacities to work on a variety of different projects. Maybe Devin Gomez has some more utilization capacity over the next 3 months where we can assign him to different projects, whereas Bruce is at 100% committed. So we are able to track, manage, plan, and really work with flow all within the platform itself. Maybe we need to find out which location the projects are taking place in and then find who can take on that work within that location, or they have a certain skill set that needs to be adapted to this environment. Whether it is a work status, skill, or location, there's a variety of different filters we can put in place to find who's the right resource at the right time for these people. Of course, you can do this by projects and by capacity, as you've seen here. We're able to shift and manage that right within the platform. So that's just a very brief overview of Smartsheet in action. And really, to wrap it up, we know that facilities teams face complex coordination challenges, but tools like Smartsheet bring clarity, automation, and ultimately scale to the work that we're doing. And at this point, I'm going to pass it over to the Kronos team. And with any follow ups, we are going to be a great resource for you for the projects that you're working on. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And thank you all again for joining us today. As a quick reintroduction, my name is Zaid Omar, and I am the Vice President of Kronos Consulting Group. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what you're going to see today before we jump into the demo. And for those of you who we haven't worked with yet, Kronos Consulting Group is a Platinum Smartsheet partner providing implementation and development support services on Smartsheet. Again, Smartsheet is the extremely powerful engine that everything we're about to show you is built on. It powers our automations and workflow while keeping all of our data in a familiar and manageable sheets, reports, and dashboards format. But you'll notice that our demo looks different than most Smartsheet demos. And that's because we're using an application called Huddle. And what Huddle is essentially is an engagement layer on top of your Smartsheet data. With Huddle, you can now extend Smartsheet to everyday users in a very easy to use format. So, how does this work? Huddle introduces completely customizable web portals to the Smartsheet platform. So you can now take your Smartsheet data and interact with it in a centralized web portal or website-like interface. So you'll notice throughout the demo that the workflow of the solution, the facilities management solution, will all be executed on the Huddle portal side. After we get through the facilities management portion of the demo, we're also going to show you the configuration management features that Huddle provides. Since we're building enterprise applications on Smartsheet, like facilities management, Huddle created a configuration management component to enforce proper governance and software development lifecycle best practices. So right now within the configuration management module, we offer version control, visual mapping, and automated AI documentation. We're actually not going to show this today, but I'll just quickly mention it. Huddle also offers pre-made, out-of-the-box solutions, so you don't have to build from scratch anymore. You can just choose which solution you need, and a Smartsheet workspace will get automatically spun up for you with a Huddle layer on top. So you start with the solution's basic building blocks, and you can customize them from there. Stay tuned on that. I'm sure we'll have a few videos or two kind of released here shortly. So more on this to come. Okay, so back to the demo itself. What we're going to walk you through today is the process of a work order lifecycle through the eyes of multiple different users throughout that process. So you're going to get this workflow through the eyes of a typical user, or somebody requesting assistance, the manager who may have to route that request, and then the technician who eventually receives and fulfills that request. So that's essentially at a very high level what we're going to show you today. Frank, the floor is yours whenever you are ready.
Thanks, Aid. And I am very excited today to share facility service management solution that's running on Smartsheet and Huddle. So what we're looking at now is our workspace for our facility service management solution that lives inside of Smartsheet. And as Aid mentioned, all this data lives inside of Smartsheet. We take advantage of Smartsheet's workflow automation, dashboard reporting, and all the power behind kind of that Smartsheet platform that brings a lot of our solutions to life. I'm going to quickly navigate some of these different items. At a first glance, you're looking at a facility sheet, which is tracking all of our locations. We have addresses, pictures, names, and a lot of information around that facility. We've got assets. We've got a product catalog. We've got work orders. We've got some supporting sheets for these different entities. We've got metric sheets, and of course, we've got some dashboards because we want to report out status of our work order requests, health of this service organization. So all of our data, our workflow, and our kind of the magic happens inside of Smartsheet. We take full advantage of this robust platform. But the one thing that Huddle brings to this whole experience is a UI interface that allows us to basically design custom pages and use Smartsheet as a data source to display that information in the context of whatever user is using this portal. So as Zaid mentioned, there's 3 roles that we're going to walk through today. I actually have all of those roles applied to me. So as we navigate this, I'm going to tell you what I'm supposed to be doing, who I am, and we can kind of focus on some of the different elements on the page. So at a first glance, you'll see this looks kind of like a site, right? Like we have a logo for the organization, some high level menu information. I got a nice big page header, some big nav buttons, and some widgets down below. This is great. First off, the one that really stands out to me is this map. So what is this? This is actually showing us a list of all of our locations in our location sheet. So our facility sheet has all of our locations in the Colorado, greater Denver area, and we're actually geocoding them in Huddle to display them on a map with pins. What that does is it allows us to get a really quick visual to filter down and see kind of who or where we're trying to find our facilities that we're trying to interact with. To the right of that, I have another really small widget that shows me a list of my work orders. So if I was a technician, I would see the work orders that I'm assigned to. If I'm the user making these requests, I can see that these could be the work orders that I have requested with a little bit of status below that. So I can come to one place and just quickly see, if I need to do anything here, right? Now, before I click into some of these locations, I'm going to actually take you to a different facility page to show you what the art of the possible is with the different types of widgets we offer. So you saw the map one on the previous page. There's another list type widget that allows us to pull out the Smartsheet rows and display them with images, add some filtering capabilities. So if I wanted to use my facilities sheet as the example here, we can assign filters to any of the columns that are in the sheet. So in this demo, we have just a basic search bar, cities, and facility type. So if I were to select municipal center, you can see that it's going to filter down all those rows that I have that match facility center as or municipal center as the facility type. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Same goes for this list view. This is a very simple, simplified view. If I come here and search for Westminster, you can see that I've got my Westminster location as well. I'm going to go ahead and click into this. And this is where the magic truly happens with Huddle. So what you're looking at here is actually a row from Smartsheet. So when I clicked into that button, I'm actually making a request to Smartsheet to get my Westminster information. So instead of having to drill down into sheets to find these different things, we're creating a navigation system in this UI that allows us to click in to see Westminster, but not only see the information for that location. Huddle has some power behind it that allows us to create these larger objects through relationships. So when I was walking through the solution in Smartsheet, I mentioned we have a facility sheet, we have an asset, a product, and a work order sheet. All of these are related, and they're all related via location or work order ID or something. Huddle has the ability to map with its proprietary technology and basically create a larger object. So if I load Westminster, you're noticing that I have some of this location information, but as I scroll down, it's going to show me all the assets that live in the asset sheet that are related to this location. And then also all of the work orders are related to this location. So these are all coming from 3 or 4 different sheets at this point, not one. I can do many things on this one page. So if I was the user that needs to submit a request for a work order, I can come here and say, Westminster, I need to submit a request. So there's two ways to do this. We can use a Smartsheet form, or if we want to take advantage of that larger multi-sheet solution, we can use huddle forms that allow us to submit information across many sheets. So if I wanted to submit a work order, I could do that by simply clicking this button. If I scroll down, you can see assets assigned to this location. So these are the assets that we're actually tracking. Now, if I jump back in here, there's no connection here to assets on the facility sheet. It's a totally separate data object. That relational mapping that Huddle provides, where we can create one large solution across many sheets, allows us to take those previously very large sheets that might have a couple hundred columns in them just to capture all those data points, and we could break them down into very small bite-sized sheets that are much more manageable. You see, if we look at this asset sheet, you can see a bunch of different assets that are all associated to different locations. But in my Westminster page, I'm just showing 3 different assets. If I click into this air handler, let's see what happens. We'll go right into this particular row from that other sheet, and you can see a picture coming in from the asset sheet, asset information, discussions around this asset, and then maintenance history. Now, maintenance history is another sheet that is tracking as it's acting as a log to track all the different the maintenance history essentially that has taken place on this particular asset. That's a different sheet that is also relationally assigned to this sort of asset. If I jump back up to this discussion area, you can capture notes, discussions, you can attach files, and these types of widgets that allow us to have these conversations all live on the Smartsheet Conversations pane. So if I were to come here, I can see that this individual added the asset guide. Now on the admin side, let's say that I'm a facility manager that's running this application on the Smartsheet side. I can come back and say, this is great, but do you have more information? I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And if I reload this page, you'll see that I've got that message coming through. Now, I would also be alerted through the workflow that we have set up, but I can come back now as my front end user that's not accessing the sheet to make this conversation take place. I can come in and say, yes, here is the other PDF. I can attach files, I can attach many files, and let's just go ahead and drag this catalog in here. I'll hit submit, and what that's going to do is actually send that facility manager the message that I've submitted that. It's also going to attach the PDF, and it's going to put it right into this conversation window in pretty much real time. Yeah, you see that? Oh, I hit reload. Sorry about that. But you can see that it came through in real time right here. So the facility manager is getting a notification, and here's the other PDF, and I can actually click this to view it, and it's all good, right? We're making use of the Smartsheet platform the way it's intended to be used. We're using conversations, we can use attachments at the row level, and we can expose all that information here in these huddle portals so that the users can find the attachments, they can have conversations, and they can find information or even perform work without having to navigate many different sheets or many different entities. So I'm going to jump back to the home page really quick just to kind of jump back into this work order section. So if I wanted to kind of put my technician hat back on, let's say the HVAC unit is not working properly. It's got an in progress task on it. So I'm going to go and click view. At a first glance, you're going to see that I've got some high level information on this work order. I'm going to jump back over to Smartsheet just to kind of show this. I'll open the work order sheet and you can see there's many different work orders that are open. It's got some information here. It's all being pulled into Smartsheet. So, or Huddle rather. You can see the same kind of setup, right? We've got discussions that allow me to have a conversation with the manager, with the requester, anybody. So from this portal page, I can actually communicate on this particular work order request. If I'm saying that this thermostat is not working because it's missing something, I can actually order products. Now there's another sheet within Smartsheet that allows me to capture product orders. So using a product catalog that we manage, we could pull in all the different products that are available to us at the organization that's managing this solution. And I can basically say, I need, this probably is the wrong asset, but I'm gonna say a pleated air filter for this thermostat. So need new air filter, right? Quantity, I could add this. I can add many products to this. Now, what this is actually doing is anytime I submit a huddle form that has the ability to create many different entries, it's going to create new rows to kind of keep that data set small, right? So if I wanted to add this request for a product air filter that I need to actually fulfill this work order request, I could do that. And then I can track my work order product orders to help make sure that I can fulfill this order. And I can also track the work order related assets. So maybe the standby generator is associated to this particular work order. So I know what is connected to what, so I can deliver the service I need to make sure that this gets fixed. Jumping back over, we mentioned the ability to track assets. So we knew that looking at that Westminster sort of asset previously, we have the same kind of capabilities here. So whatever type of sheet it is, it could be a location sheet, it could be an asset sheet, it could be a product sheet, it could be a service sheet, it could be a data call sheet. We can expose all the Smartsheet information into this sort of a list widget and allow us to visually see some high level information, but then also sort and filter down by anything we need. So if we want to search by HVACs or electrical, I could do that as well, right? Very simple, very intuitive, very fun to use. Now, if I want to make use of something even more streamlined, let's say I just have a simple approval, yes, no, complete reject, whatever it is. Putting on my technician hat again, I can have another type of widget that allows me to see that I've got a fire alarm panel battery warning. I can come in here to see that I've got some high level information. I can again have discussion around this. This is coming from a row. This is a task-based item. I can approve or reject it. I can say reject this, and it's basically going to remove it from my list and update the status of that particular entity in Smartsheet. So what that's going to do is make sure that you can see right here, it just updated to rejected status. So the widgets can support work and workflow in different fashions. Now, that's a very quick overview of a few different types of widgets we have in portals. Portals are fully flexible. They're fully mobile responsive. I'm actually going to try something here. So if I were to shrink this down to a mobile phone, you can see how things stack differently. And you can see that my map, my buttons, everything sort of stacks so that if I'm on a tablet or a mobile phone, I can get the work done anywhere I am on any type of device. Now, that's a view of the front end portals and how they interact with Smartsheet. And as Abe mentioned, the data lives in Smartsheet. We don't store any data on Huddle side. We're just pulling it out, displaying it, updating it, and making sure it all lives back in Smartsheet. So you get that power, that security of the Smartsheet platform with all of your solutions that you run here, but you get the flexibility and ease of use of Huddle portals to take care of this. Now, that's portals. In Zaid's presentation, he also mentioned another element around configuration management and the software development lifecycle. Now, as we know, we build these solutions on Smartsheet. We are business app developers, right? How can we make sure that the integrity of our solution is maintained as we evolve it and mature it with a team of other, Smartsheet developers? Well, looking at this really high level, we have a lot of different elements in our workspace. And in Huddle, we have the ability to basically capture all that information and create what we've branded as a Huddle as a configuration management object. So in here, you can see that I have, and you know what? I'm actually going to make a new one for this demo in real time. So let's go ahead and make a new object. We'll call this one work order demo. Very creative, Frank. I'm going to come here and say that this is a facilities management type solution, and we'll just say field service management. And in this description, I'll say this is a demo. Now, a lot of this information is used. We have a Gen AI that comes with Huddle that has a lot of contextual knowledge around what your solution is. This is how we're establishing the baseline of context here. So when I set this up, I'd want to be as accurate as possible to kind of feed that AI all this kind of information around what our solution actually is. And then I'm going to actually go in and start to kind of poke around. So looks like we need to configure this thing. So right out of the gate, Huddle has a connection to Smartsheet that allows you to navigate your workspaces to see your sheets, your dashboards, and reports. So what I'm going to do is visit that navigation window. So On the left-hand side here, you're seeing a list of my different workspaces that are available to me. I'm going to click into this work order assets demo. And right here, you're looking at one of my workspaces for work order management. If I go over and kind of scroll back down in the Smartsheet side, let's go click open to this work order sheet. You can see there's some folders, there's some other different sheets in here. I'm actually able to view all of the assets in one window, and I'm going to select all of them and basically track them. And what this is doing is it's identifying in Smartsheet what of these elements make up my final state solution. Maybe I don't want these reverted sheets, right? Because I want to track that final state solution to make sure the integrity is always intact. I'm going to select that work order demo configuration management that we just set up, and I'm going to click back into it. Now, what I just did was I assigned all of those Smartsheet assets to this demo. And if I click into this, you'll see all of those Smartsheet assets that we just tracked displayed visually. And they're already related, right? You can see that there are lines signifying this sheet is a widget data source. This sheet is showing up as maybe a metric in this sheet, and this sheet is showed up as a source sheet for this particular report. All of this is done automatically, and our AI has the ability to kind of map and hierarchically stack these visual maps. But obviously, they're fully customizable as well. So if you wanted to move items around or create your own relationships, you can do that. You can say that this might be additional meta information flowing, right? I'm going to save that, and a color scheme will be applied to this to signify sheets, dashboards, and reports. Now, this is a great way to visually see our solution, and I'm sure some solutions can be pretty large, but this will show you that, this one sheet right here, this request form sheet, is actually pretty critical. It's got many different bits of data flowing in and out of it, many different upstreams and downstreams. If I click into this huddle items list, you'll be able to see an index of all the different elements that make up my solution. These are the sheets, the dashboards, reports. There's some quick navigation for version and documentation. And then we can also list out those references for data flow in and out of those different elements. We also have the ability to track huddle level or configuration level version changes. So previously, how I mentioned, we don't track the row level data. We actually track the schema changes. So if I come down here, I can see that on this ETS request form sheet that we were looking at, we basically can see somebody changed references, the cross sheet references, and this could be in a formula, this could be anything, right, that's used in that cross sheet reference. It looks like they changed the name. They added ranges to it to make it maybe more apparent what that actually is. This allows us to capture that and see what it is. The same goes for anything else in this solution as well. So as we're tracking all of those different sheets, dashboards, and reports, using this configuration management tool will allow us to see at a high level any of the changes that have happened since this was set up. You can see a lot of the names just changed, right? Now, the documentation piece is one where our Gen AI takes the context of your solution that you're tracking in Smartsheet, in Huddle, and all the information around the sheets, dashboards, and reports. So right out of the gate, you have the ability to select any of the objects you'd like to include in your documentation, and you can generate the documentation. This takes a good amount of time to actually process. It does a lot of discovery and then spits out a document at the end of the whole process. But what I'm going to do in the meantime is take you to one that's already in existence just to show you what it looks like. So if I jump back over to documentation, you can see here that this one was created on the 24th, and it consists of all these different assets that make up my facility work order management. And it gives us a breakdown of the solution overview, provide some business context and objectives, some key components and their roles. You can see all the different assets that I selected show up here and how the solution addresses the problem. And then it kind of gets into some more of the nitty gritty things that take place around the different sheets that we have that make up our solution. And it gives you a good baseline, right? This might not be a final state document, but this takes all the information from Smartsheet, all the information that we fed to the system, and information around your organization to help build a solid baseline, which you can then come in and edit if you wanted to add images. You could change the text. You can, add any particular context you want to make this documentation more robust. But the most important thing around this documentation component is that while most organizations either get documentation created at the time of deployment for their solution, or a contractor comes in to provide documentation, this system will create the baseline, allow you to edit it, but then it'll track all changes to your solution and update your documentation as you go. So your documentation stays up to date and rarely gets outdated. That's a very high level overview of the configuration management components. I can click into an individual actual sheet to show you a little bit more around that version control. So if I can come into, let's go to this location sheet. In the Smartsheet solution, you have activity history that shows us basically all of the different changes that have happened, right? But we can now see at the schema level some of these changes that might be critical to the solution and how data flows to dashboards, metric sheets, reports, things like that. In all of the demos we've done to all the different users out there, feedback from our customers, we've learned that sometimes organizations that manage their solutions on Smartsheet are afraid to give administrator privileges to more than one or two users because of fear of breaking solutions. This really helps address that. So what we're looking at here is, actually maybe today for this demo, I hid two columns on our location, our facility sheet, right? So you can see here that work orders and assets were hidden, so they didn't show up on that sheet. That's a very small item. If I do approve of this, I can capture that version and say, Frank, applied this to the solution and prep for a demo. So now changes have context, and we know that, we want to mature our solution. We want to capture changes that happen to it. This allows us to see how our solution evolves and gives us a history of why these changes happened. And that context flows into the documentation as well. So if you want to have a history, let's say we onboard somebody new, they want to know why this happened. This history will exist. If I wanted to click on this, I can, and I can basically find a different version in time that I wanted to revert to. And this is similar to a Control Center global update, where if I wanted to create a backup and review for rollout, I can basically select a previous version. I would click on this button, and it would take me to Smartsheet. It would create a backed up version of the sheet, apply the changes to its previous state. I can approve it, and then it would roll it out to the live sheet, reverting my entire solution back to a previous state if there was something that was rolled out in error. Now, this is a really good, really quick and high level overview of configuration management, and I'm sure we could spend a full day going through all the different components and all the different use cases here. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to sit on the demo today and watch us share facility service management, how it can take place on Smartsheet and Huddle. Thanks.
Thanks again for your time today. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, please feel free to reach out directly, or you can book a meeting online, via the website. I hope you all enjoy the demo today.